All right, let's come to my panel here in New York. Douglas, well, you've heard two people there and their views. What's your view about this story?
My view is that, I mean, essentially, the British public have been watching on in recent months. It looks like a very bad time to be a television presenter in Britain at the moment, doesn't it? And there's something sort of baffling, I think, to the general public about this. There have been these two massive scandals of two of the most prominent faces in television.
Philip Schofield and now
Huw Edwards. I think there are lots of things to take in mind. I agree with some of what's been said. I mean, effectively, we're back into the old problem of actually it's a problem at the BBC of oversight of BBC procedures. The BBC, of course, always quite understandably comes into the headlights and the firing line of everybody else because, you know, everybody's got criticism of the BBC. The BBC always tries to please every party, and very often it fails to please any party. So it seems to be it's something to do with BBC governance and oversight that's the issue here. I'd say two other things. One is the whole thing of, you know, we have to go to mental health hospitals and all this sort of thing. You know, men are idiots, and men are idiots a lot. And I do think that the sort of pathologizing of men making mistakes into always having to be a mental health issue is, you know, maybe something to be discussed another day, but it is a problem, that. And the second thing I'd just add to that is that whenever we look at a case like this, you know, we've just got to remember that there are a lot of different agendas that are going to go on behind this. There are going to be people who are going to come out for Team Huw Edwards. There are going to be not that many at the moment. There are going to be others that come out for, you know, the young man. I mean, we just heard about the possibility of this young man is a well-adjusted crack cocaine addict, which I don't think is very likely at all. But you know, it's just a difficult, ugly, and complex story. I don't look to newscasters to moral guidance. I don't look to them for good behaviour or anything else. But much of the country just doesn't want to know about the private life of Huw Edwards. It's now out there, and for him, I'd have thought that's just career-wise a terrible place to be in.
Louise, I think there's a lot of feelings you can have about this. You can feel sorry for Huw Edwards, that he's in this awful condition. He's in hospital. He's a well-documented depressive. He's had problems with this before. On a human level, I know him a bit. I feel sorry for the situation he's in. But I also need to know more about what's been going on before you can, I think, make any broad brushstroke judgments about what he's done wrong and what the BBC should do in response to that, given that he is effectively the face of BBC News.
Yeah, I don't think we can muddy the waters here. There are two separate issues. One is he's depressed, and he's been depressed for a long time. I'm very sorry for him for that. Genuinely, that's terrible. What he has done, allegedly, to these vulnerable young people is something else altogether. And listening to your other guests, I wonder if we're reading the same story, because I heard absolutely nothing of concern for the alleged victims that have come forward so far. Also, let me just say right now, it's not true that these allegations, all of the allegations, are unproven. The second accuser didn't go to The Sun. They went directly to the BBC and they said, I didn't want to meet up offline, he bullied me, he threatened me, and the BBC themselves reported that they had checked Huw Edwards, as we now know, phone, and that, yes, indeed, those threatening messages came from him. So if everybody, I think, should stop feeling sorry for Mr. Edwards in terms of what he allegedly did to these people, that's not OK. And I also do think that we have to draw a distinction between conduct that's illegal, which the police say there's no evidence of, and conduct that's unethical and that's immoral. The BBC is funded by everybody in Britain through the licence fee. If you pay TV, you have to pay the BBC. We do have a right to ask its highest paid employees that maybe they should have some care for young people, not threaten them, not bully them, that we know factually did actually happen. Is that OK? Would it be OK in any other organisation?
No, and it's interesting to me to see this sort of sun-bashing that's going on against the sort of the beastly tabloids doing all this. The BBC have now done two separate exposés of Huw Edwards in the last 48 hours about his alleged inappropriate behaviour, including today, reportedly towards colleagues at the BBC. That's something to do with The Sun. That's to do with the BBC themselves unearthing stuff that they believe is worthy of reporting. So it's much more nuanced, I think, than people are trying to make out. This is just the Sun invading his privacy. I don't think it's as simple as that at all.